I'm back here with Kiran Priyagi. My name is Naresh Khanna. I am the editor of Indian Printer and Publisher and Packaging South Asia. And I'm also a printer, just by the way. And I'm speaking to my old friend Kiran Priyagi, who is the leading technologist in the country on technical optimization and standardization of printing and printing related to packaging. So he has a wide knowledge of the different printing technologies and processes. And from that point of view, I would like to ask Kiran to comment, given that the technology now has seemingly taken so much out of the printer's hands, so that being a printer is as simple as buying a press or a machine. What should printers really do now in order to bring back some of the value that they can leverage so that they can actually be growth-oriented and profitable businesses?
Thank you, Naresh. I'm very happy to be in your studio in Delhi, and it's a lovely studio. I'm very happy about it, the way you have established the whole thing. Okay, well, talking about how the situation, see what has happened. If you look at the printing education here, the education what used to be imparted 40 years back or 50 years back, there the printing colleges technology was ahead of the industry. Students were learning offset when people were still struggling with the letterpress and thinking whether I should go over, change from letterpress to offset. And that's when the students were studying offset, and those students were really useful to the industry when they came in. Today what has happened with the new technology, it's very unfortunate that most people think that you don't need to know the printing fundamentals or the printing technology to be able to work in the industry, which is completely wrong concept. And if you look at the many of the colleges, in fact, unfortunately, some of our printing colleges, degree colleges have closed down because they said they were not getting students. When we asked them, why are you not getting students? They said, because students were not employable. The industry thought, they're not good for our industry. I think what is lacking is the printing education has to give good printing technology, the underlying science and technology what is involved. Today what is happening, that fundamentals of printing and the real science is not really taught at the colleges. I mean, you go to many colleges and you find they are just taught. Some colleges are still talking about the 2 hours on the glass screen. I mean, okay, you take it as a history, but really, you take, for example, simple subject like halftone. The halftone is not simple, and most people have not really understood what is halftone. In halftone, that is people who really understand. I mean, that's why from supplier you find there are new kind of stochastics are coming in, because the whole printing is basically on your gray balance, tone reproduction and so on, and how this various halftone pattern, halftone dots, fine screen, coarse screen affects your tone reproduction and the color shift. That is also a very, very big subject to study. Unfortunately, I'm just giving an example of one subject. Then there are many areas like this, and in this halftone pattern, the requirement is different for different printing processes. I mean, the kind of, the new halftones were coming in. So basically, it is how to improve your tones in the picture, how to get the right color, the right so on. So that is what, and our students have to be really in the research, or they have to investigate, invent something in future. They need to understand this, so they can come up with maybe somebody will come up with a good stochastic pattern, which may be applicable to different printing processes. This is just one aspect. Then there are things about the chemicals, like fountain solution. I mean, there are printers using the same fountain solution, whether I am using UV ink, I am using oil-based inks, or and so on. So that is another area. So like this, there are innumerable areas in the printing industry where this education, the fundamentals of underlying principles have to be clarified. Now what is happening today? Okay, we talk about the standards, ISO 12647. Now In the colleges, also they should explain this properly. Now it is related to some 7 basic types of paper. Now what happens if you don't have a paper of that type? How do you standardize your process? So the basic underlying principles of color reproduction, which needs to be explained very well, which paper will give you good text, or what is the fine serif type, which process to be used, and what point and what type style. I mean, old days I remember the font had a different meaning when we were dealing with letterpress. You take Times Roman, 12 point type is one font, Times 12 point italic is another font, Times extra bold is another font, expanded is another font. Today Times Roman is just one font. You manipulate on the computer, and they say we have Times. So, but what happens to that when you change it, the same type on the computer, this spacing in between and so on, I mean, that is something has to be the fundamentals of typography, typographic principle, easy readability as according to the age. Then there are many things about the color. I mean, there are not many who really go through the color vision test. So the color vision test is very, very important. Yeah. So if we want to get people to work on proper system, the education has to start from the college itself. And in these colleges, whatever little way they can give systematic training. So here I think the most important point which I would touch is the faculty training. First, the faculty needs to be developed, and the faculty should be told what is the science of printing technology, and that is very important. Then only they can go back and teach their students. Okay.
So, just to sum up, it's very interesting what you're saying, and you have direct experience of these colleges and these students. From what I understand, what you're saying, if I can sum up briefly, is first of all, you feel that there is an importance to educate people in the fundamental sciences, whether it's color science, which is related to physics,
it's total printing technology science,
and chemistry, which is also related to physics and color science, and all the printing processes which are also related to physics and chemistry. That is how printing actually works. It's a process. It's a coating process. It's a physical process. It's a chemical process. Yes. So it's both a mechanical and chemical process.
And its effect on printing. For example, I will tell you. I mean, I'm just giving you example from my experience. When my son went to Germany to do his masters in printing technology, he said his mathematics teacher, in the first lecture, he listed the topics, and he said which of these mathematics is applied in what area of printing, and then the lecture started in printing. Similar things should also be there in, people should do it for chemistry, for physics, and other areas.
Okay, when it is taught as part of a printing course.
Part of the printing course, not the mechanical engineering. That is more mechanical engineering rather than how it's applied to printing.
Yeah. See, what I would like to add to what Kiran is saying is that once you have this kind of education, plus let us say you have an education on how a computer works, what is bits, bytes, what's RAM, what's EEPROM, what is the algorithm, what are the fundamentals of how a computer works. If you have these kinds of knowledges, you have a fundamental self-belief which will allow you to adapt in two ways. It will allow you to adapt to new technologies when digital replaces offset. Yeah. So you will know what has to happen, or what needs to happen, or what is new that is happening. And the second thing is that you will be able to solve the problem that Kiran described earlier, which is that you don't have an ideal situation. You have to produce a standard product with your local papers, your local inks, and the job your customer has given you. So how do you do those in a disciplined way? In order to have that adaptation, application of your knowledge, application of the standard, application of the disciplined process to every job that comes, which will come in a random order and which will have random description and random requirements, that adaptability will come only from your knowledge and your experience in using that knowledge, and your self-belief that these challenges can be met by following these process steps and discipline and where what you have learned can be applied. So this is what education is for. Education is not to pluck something out of the air and to reproduce it, but in fact to meet new challenges and to apply your mind and your knowledge and your tools and your instruments and your machines to achieve a result which is an industrial result, which is actually mass reproduction of an image or image and text in a somewhat disciplined, industrial and business-like way.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. So this is where as we said in the earlier conversation, when the job comes right, you know why it has come right. When it goes wrong, you know why it has gone wrong, where it has what happened.
Yeah.
So you are more confident with your knowledge.
Yeah. So you know when you've made a mistake. That is very important. And I think just to add, I don't know if there will be time in this video, it will be edited out, but any organism which is a self-correcting organism has two things. One, it has hope of survival. B, it has hope of improvement and excellence.
Also, it improves productivity because you are cutting down on your wastage, and you know what you are going to get. So, and because when you have wastage, nobody gets it. You don't get it. Your employees don't get it. Your customer doesn't get it. It's a loss down the drain. So when you save this, it's adding straight to the bottom line.
Okay. No, that's very good. That means that we are not just chit-chatting, but what we're talking about is of serious interest to printing businesses if they would like to be profitable. Thank you, Kiran.
Welcome. Great. Pleasure to have with you.